penultimate time this year, the European Talent Cup goes racing in Barcelona. There's just one race today before we head to Valencia later this month for the finale. 50 points are left this year with Fernando Bajosa entering the weekend with a 9-point hold over Carlos Cano, leaving tension sky high. There's no better place to go racing than in Barcelona, known for its unique architecture, its football, and its passion for motorcycle racing. The stars of the future are about to head out on this legendary circuit, featuring 6 tricky left-handers and 8 technical rights, which will test the riders to the limit. So let's go racing in the European Talent Cup for the sole race of the day. Last time out at Misano, all eyes were on our championship contenders, with Carlos Cano starting for pole position. It was once again a packed grid, which when released out on circuit for just 2 races, which were packed with frills and some spills. Once race 1 got underway on Sunday morning, Bajosa initially hit the front before Cano got his elbows out, working his way into prime position. There were some followers throughout, which included Michael Sanchez and the TV, as the fight for victory went all the way to the line, with Cano snatching the win. Race 2 is a similar story, with Alvaro Lucas having issues, suffering the fall, suffering a big high side of the exit at turn 6, with Remy San Juan later becoming the next follower over at turn 2. It was an epic fight as at the front, where after some breathtaking moves saw Carlos Cano fend off Bajosa all the way to the checkered flag, allowing the title fight to head to Barcelona. Celebrations down in Carlos Cano's camp as a brilliant race awaits today. So this is the scene down in Barcelona, the European Talent Cup making their way to the grid. Just one race here today, and what a race we have in store. Plenty of penalties to get through, including some of our championship contenders and including the championship leader. My name's Lewis Ray, and joining me for this weekend is Jack Amy. And well, Jack, the European Talent Cup, it's been one of the highlights of the year in terms of action on circuit, but off track, it's continuing to make headlines.
It is continuing to make headlines. As you mentioned, penultimate race of the season for the ETC, which means mathematically the title can be wrapped up today. However, as you mentioned, off-track headlines dominating Saturday. It's unlikely to be wrapped up in Barcelona. It will probably be going down to Valencia.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. Of course, a finale for ETC would be incredible, to say the very least. But in terms of penalties that we received after qualifying, we received some disqualifications from qualifying. We received quite a few back-of-the-grid penalties, which included some of our key runners, like the likes of Ramadipa and, of course, Alex Longarella. So Alex Longarella, he received a back-of-the-grid penalty. Meanwhile, back-of-the-grid plus a long lap to serve is going to be our championship leader, Fernando Bajosa, and that is a completely different challenge from maybe what I was expecting after yesterday's qualifying.
Bajosa has obviously been very quick throughout the season, no exception here in Barcelona. However, 2 separate penalties across the weekend mean he has a back-of-the-grid start. That was for slow sectors during Q2, and also for irresponsible riding during practice. That was for an unsafe rejoin. That's given him a long lap to serve as well, so when he takes that, he will lose around 3 seconds.
Yeah, a long lap to serve, and that's going to be over at turn 1 and 2, but he'll have to wait a couple of laps before he's told that he's able to take that, of course. He can't take it on the first lap, first corner, but nonetheless, Carlos Cano, this is a nice opportunity for him, you have to say.
I am very happy because I have 5 pole position, and well, this race is very important for the champion, for catch many points, and this weekend is the work of the team was very hard, and yeah, I ready for tomorrow for the race and do my best.
So that is your pole sitter. That is Carlos Cano, of course, in contention for the championship this season. He starts from the best position possible in P1. Number 1, of course, on his fair and looking to defend his crown this year. He goes alongside Travis Borg and Pratelli on the front row of the grid after all the dramas unfolded in qualifying yesterday. 3 wins to his name so far this year, a handful of podiums as well, and finally on pole position. This looks to be Cano's chance to shine.
You mentioned it was a nice opportunity for him. It's actually a golden opportunity for the number 1. Cano has the perfect chance to catch and perhaps overtake Barbosa in the championship standings heading to Valencia. A slightly shaky start to his title defence, but the last 3 races, second, first, after, as he mentioned, 5 poles. So hitting form perhaps at the right time.
Travis Borg as well, looking very, very strong in P2 that he goes from today. But yeah, Carlos Cano, a brilliant opportunity today. But of course, this is European Talent Cup. We all know stranger things have happened with the likes of Barbosa. You would expect him to fight his way through the order here today. Of course, there will be some tricky contenders, including the likes of Pratelli, who's going to be going from P3 today, completing the front row of the grid. And here is Pratelli waiting away on circuit. But as we said, Barbosa, you would expect him to work his way through.
Barbosa will have the pace to work his way through, but of course, Cano, we know, will be quick. If he's able to get a good start and stay P1, maybe build a gap to the chasing pack as they fight behind him, Barbosa will get nowhere near him throughout this race. And then, obviously, the title race will swing completely, and the momentum heading into Valencia will be with Cano if that happens.
Yeah, and exactly. The European Talent Cup, with it being so competitive, it can be a championship which is almost decided on momentum. It's decided on the confidence that you've got over the last couple of results, over the last couple of qualifying sessions, and there is Fernando Barbosa. Now, he started in P22, which isn't necessarily the back of the grid, but you received the back of the grid penalty, and with there being other riders receiving back of the grid penalties, it's a real shuffled up order, of course, with the likes of Osorio, who came through the last chance race. Normally he would be starting at the back after that, but instead he's starting P19 on our order, on our grid. Yeah,
Osorio benefiting from the whole host of back of the grid penalties. As you say, Barbosa with a back of the grid you would think would be last row, potentially penultimate row, but actually he starts, as we saw, from 22nd alongside Longarella. So yes, they have been penalised, but not as much as it could have been.
Yeah, it could be definitely a lot worse for him. He's not in the worst situation in the world, and certainly not too far away from the points started in that place either. Certainly if he can get in a good first lap. But the first lap in the European Talent Cup, always dramatic, as we know, as Karpushim now sits there on the second row of the grid. And well, Karpushim, what a year it's been for him. A couple of podiums to his name. Can he add a third this time out?
He's in a great position for the number 70. Podium at Aragon, 4th and 7th at Mazzano. 5th on the grid, middle of the second row. I mean, we know it's going to be a big group fighting at the front, so if he can remain in there, take advantage of the slipstream heading into turn 1, turn 10, he'll think he's got a great chance of taking a rostrum.
As now, Perez now just starting on the edge of the second row, and certainly smiles on the flat helmet. He's delighted to get this one underway. Sitting P18 in the championship, but definitely a good season so far. It's been a little up and down the midpoint, but a second position at the start of the year. It's shown that he has that pace.
He has the pace, and we'll be hoping he can convert that on home. So it's a second front row start of the season after Jerez.
Now we await, the fans are waiting for the action to unfold as well. A nice busy crowd yet again. It's exactly what we expect to see here in the Junior GP paddock. FIM Crackerville now starting from P7, your Northern Talent Cup champion in 2025. What a season it was for him. He dominated most rounds. If he wasn't on the top step of the podium, at least on one occasion throughout the weekend, it was a surprise there. And now he comes to the European Talent Cup for a little play about, and he starts P7, as does the now reigning British Talent Cup champion, Ethan Sparks. He's out on circuit here today, and he goes from P11.
Very talented grid, obviously, coming through the ranks with BTC champion and NTC champions. Finn, the number 20, has raced in ETC a bit this year, but I'd say priority has been Northern Talent Cup when he wiped the floor to claim that title.
Now, though, the grid not too far away from getting the action going as we go to look at Alvaro Lucas there. We can see him sitting chilling on the grid a few moments ago. He was looking to bounce back after his fall over at Mazzano. It was quite a big high side for him, but luckily looks like he's ready to go yet again.
He does look ready to go. Yeah, a massive high side at Mazzano for the number 46. One victory, 3 podiums this season. We'll be hoping he can go with the lead group. That will be the crucial thing to start with. Get with that lead group, stay in contention, and then make your moves at the end of this 13-lap race.
So the 1 minute board about to be raised here in Barcelona. We're nearly ready to go for the European Talent Cup. You can see a sticker there for Noah Detweiler. Of course, we send our best wishes to him up here in the commentary box, as does the whole paddock. Our thoughts remain with him and his team. And some positive signs over the last couple of days. And certainly, we hope to see him make a full recovery after his fall at the Malaysian Grand Prix, as does Jose Antonio Rueda. Now, not too far away from actually unfolding. 13 laps of action coming up. Plenty of time to make some moves.
Plenty of time to make some moves indeed. It will be a frantic 13-lap race, especially with Bahosa, Lucas, a whole host of riders trying to fight their way through the field after their penalties. Especially Bahosa, because as we said, he's got to take that long lap. He can only take it when race direction tell him he can take it, which will probably, well, it won't be the first lap, because obviously that will be at turn 1. Likely will be the start of the second lap, will be his first chance to take it. Then it depends on when he takes it.
Now, though, it's all about tactics on the grid. You had a look there at Ethan Sparks. Little thumbs up to the camera. He did, but he has a little bit of work to do if he wants to fight with the likes of Carlos Cano, who, of course, will be launching this one from pole position. The teams now make their way off the grid back to the pit lane, meaning we are just moments away from action getting underway here in the European Talent Cup. So, Cano looking strong, looking confident, and now looking ready to race. We're about to head out on our formation lap. As the grid is getting set, we are getting settled in for the race. Carlos Cano goes from pole alongside Travis Borg, and Fratelli goes from P3. Tassini, Karpushin and Perez go from row 2, with your reigning NTC champion Finn Crackerville from Borelli and Alvaro Lucas on row 3. The TV, Ethan Sparks and Remy San Juan go from row 4, with Takagan, Galan and Boxberger on row 5. Tamburini, Garcia and Martinez go from row 6. Rounding out your top 20 is Osorio and Mikey Luis Sanchez, with Alex Longarella going from P21. Your championship leader, Fernando Bahosa in P22, with Gabarini and Ramadipa on row 8. Mario Landa, Almeida and Cantos on row 9. Savino, Gutierrez and Da Costa round out our 10 rows of European Talent Cup talent. Now, out onto the formation lap, the cycling lap we go. Now ready to get going. Just one warm-up lap awaits, and it's nearly time for Carlos Cano to see how many points he can claw back in his championship deficit.
As we mentioned, a great opportunity for the number 1 to claw points back over Bahosa with his penalty and the long lap, the back of the grid penalty and the long lap to serve. You just see, I think this is Remy San Juan in pit lane. So we saw this earlier. Going from pit lane, will join the warm-up lap, can take original grid position, but will probably have a double long lap in the race to take.
Yeah, so Remy San Juan, he was originally meant to be starting in P12, but for him now, that's going to be a more difficult task at hand of having to push that bike back into pit lane and put it back on the starter motor, so either it's cut out on him, or perhaps he's just stalled it whenever he's heading out onto the warm-up lap. But an important warm-up lap this is. Time to get temperature into the tyres. These European Talent Cup machines, it's the class that matters the most about corner speed. It's the class that you need the confidence on the front to roll it through the middle of the corner, and definitely some of these trickier turns, like turn 5, it can really catch out on these machines. It
can. It's not. It is warm. It was the graphic said 20 degrees. The track temperature was also 20 degrees, so it's not a particularly hot track at the moment. And turn 5 especially, it will be the first left-hander in a while for these riders. Very easy to lose the front under braking. You don't want to be caught up in someone else's accident there as well, which is crucial because it is an overtaking hotspot. There are lots of long, fast corners throughout this circuit. Tyre life, very important.
And you can see there, Alex Longarella wanting just to drop back ever so slightly. And this is how things stand heading into this one. Fernando Bahosa, your championship leader, just 9 points ahead of Carlos Cano. Of course, different ends of the grid for them. A really interesting race coming up. Some clouds in the air now. It did start off this morning in this nice blue skies. Certainly the clouds beginning just to home in ever so slightly.
Yeah, the forecast was dry, which is the crucial thing. Cloud could become cloudy. It is becoming cloudy. Will obviously have an impact on air and track temperature. I was just out in Park Fermé, still very warm.
Still low, that side of the circuit looks nice and warm. Certainly looks blue skies at that side, so we'll have to see what the weather gods have planned. Final couple opportunities to get some temperature in the tyres. You can see doing a little bit of weaves going to the grid is your pole sitter Carlos Cano, as he pulls in to P1. He pulls into pole position. The red flag waits at the front. That will be taken away after the green flag waves at the back, meaning everyone is set and ready to go. Ready San Juan has took his original grid slot. You can see that in the background there as the 99 gets ready to go racing. So the green flag waves at the back. The red lights are about to appear on for European Talent Cup Race 1. The red lights are on now. And we do go racing. It's a great start for Pratelli from the front row of the grid, from third place, as he looks to take lead on the run to turn 1. How will that hold, though, on the braking zone 2, turn 1 now? Karpushin as well put himself into potential podium positions. Carlos Cano already getting his elbows out on the run to turn 1. The launch of the move now is the rest of the field. Alvaro Lucas losing a little bit of ground himself as he slots in just ahead of Ethan Sparks. But it's the 67 of Pratelli that leads away. Tassini slots into second and Borelli in third.
I was just checking Bahosa's progress. He's already up to 11th. A superb start for the number 69. The perfect start that he could have asked for. As for Pratelli as well, exactly what he needed to get off the line and into P1. Cano down to P5.
Nice and clean for the entire field in this one. 13 laps do remain. A move now being made for Tassini as he looks to reclaim that second position. And Carlos Cano, well, he's sitting inside the top 5 at the moment. Incident at turn 5, and that is going to be a fall. That's going to be in the TV, it looks like. The number 9 falling there at turn 5. So disappointing end to his race. As well, you can see the 94 losing a lot of ground potentially due to that incident. That's Osorio. He came through the last chance race earlier on this morning. But there is Fernando Bahosa, the bright pink helmet, already fighting his way inside the top 10. P7 as things stand. Finn Krakenville, of course, your 2025 NTC champion. He was briefly inside the top 5, soon to be pushed back as Bahosa launches a move down the inside. He's inside the top 5 as there has been a follower at turn 10. Hopefully everyone is okay down there. You can see 2 riders down on the deck at turn 10.
We see 2 riders down. Just to note that Bahosa has been told he can take his long lap penalty. Again, the perfect start considering the circumstances for him, right in the mix of the lead group. Cano defending from Bahosa, it looked like, through the final corner. We will see now whether Bahosa decides to take that long lap now or try and build a gap to the pack behind and come out further ahead, if you like.
Yeah, and a lot of shuffling now being done as they cross the line. You can see in the TV that was your crash over at turn 5 on the opening lap, but confirmation of that fall for the number 9. As now moves beginning to be made. Almeida was on one of our followers at turn 10, but some real key moves being made. That was Finn Krakenville making moves as Carlos Cano looks to enter his way into the podium places because, well, Fernando Bahosa, he's already in there, already fighting for the podium. The championship rivals go side by side into turn 4. It's going to be Cano who gets the better of Bahosa.
Cano getting the better of Bahosa there, as you say. Perhaps not what Cano expected so early in this race. I'm sure he expected Bahosa to be close to him by the end of it, but not after, or not on the second lap. Of course, the pressure ramping up now for Cano and Bahosa. Bahosa, if he can get ahead, take the long lap and still remain in that top 4, who look like they've broken away as he makes the move into turn 7. A brave move there for Bahosa. Can he hold it through 8? He can, but Cano might be able to get a run into turn 9.
Into turn 9 we go now. It's going to be all about the slipstream. You can see confirmation of the long lap penalties, of course, one of them being for Fernando Bahosa. And, well, he's going to have that to do. Remy San Juan has been given that double long lap for his bike stalling on the grid, having to get that bike restarted. But nonetheless, we will continue on the action at the front of things. It continues to be Pratelli leading the way. Now, Pratelli has been such a great force at the front of the field. And there's confirmation of San Juan's long lap penalty as Carlos Cano, a little nibble on the green there. He doesn't want to do that too much. It is the European Talent Cup. Corner speed matters. And this is the classic. You tend to see riders run it a little bit too wide.
Running on the green during the race, but not the last lap, you will receive warnings, and too many infractions will see you get a long lap penalty. We just see the run into turn 1. It's Pratelli defending from Borelli. Cano swoops to the normal racing line. He's got the slipstream. He's ahead into the braking zone. Can he hold it? with Lucas now into contention as Barbosa takes his long lap penalty. But he did touch the green.
Yeah, Barbosa took his long lap penalty, but has he exceeded the white lines? It looked like potentially did a bubble on the front as Remy Sanhan, his hand goes up in the air in frustration as well. But they both rejoin out on circuit. We'll have to wait for confirmation that that penalty has definitely been served. Dorothy's going to have to go in there yet again. Carlos Cano, though, at the head of the field, ahead of Alvaro Lucas. Now, Lucas, we've seen, of course, at Mazzano, a big high side. It's not affected his confidence at all as he looks for a move over at turn 5. He thinks better of it. Number 4 of Ticini lurking there over at turn 5. He's sitting there in 3rd place, though, with a big gaggle of riders just behind him. A nice big battle at the front. Karpushin also involved.
Exactly what we expected from ETC in these early stages. Cano out in front. Oh, very close to the green through turn 8 there. Couldn't really tell if they touched it. That looked like Borelli making a move through turn 9 as he looks to fight for the podium in these early stages as Cano still leads.
Yeah, Cano continues to lead over at turn 10. He's got Alvaro Lucas on the outside, and that's going to invite an opportunity for Ticini, not only to go into second, but also briefly the lead. But he ran it wide, and Cano straight away taking no prisoners. He's already back into P1, already defending his slot as well. We wait to see what Longarella can do. Of course, he had a penalty given to him yesterday as well. In the 45, still mathematically in championship contention, also working his way in the order into P8.
Just to note on Barbosa, after that long lap, he has rejoined in P10, around a second off the lead. He's at the back of the lead group, so if he did serve it correctly, it has worked out fairly well for the number 69.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure Race Direction will have a double check at that and make sure that everything was served. Right as looking up the inside is Alvaro Lucas. Can he hold on to the lead? No, he cannot, because it's Bertelli from the outside who swoops around on the normal racing line. Borelli still sitting in second as there is Fernando Barbosa. As we look back at the start of things, and look back to the action that unfolded. And well, that was Fernando Barbosa, it looked like, making a move at the start. And definitely moving over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Heading into turn 1, though, things were pretty clean overall, and you can just see how Barbosa managed to make up so much ground round the outside there on Ethan Sparks. As now we do continue on, 10 laps do remain in the action. Karpushin getting moved back a few more positions, and that's now Alvaro Lucas ahead of him. Now number 51 of Dakigan just ahead as well, as Carlos Cano is back, as we do have a faller down there, and we wait to see exactly who that is. Yellow flags, of course, out at turn 7, losing the front on the entry to things, and Fernando Barbosa's name is dropping down the timing screens. The number 14 is down. Fernando Barbosa loses the front over at turn 7, and that's all she wrote in Barcelona. A massive moment in the championship, and this is really going to help the likes of Carlos Cano. So Barbosa down with 10 laps remaining.
Barbosa, he made the perfect start. He did everything he needed to before that long lap came out at the right time. But yeah, a crash at turn 7 ending his hopes, and very much advantage Cano now in the title fight.
Very much advantage, as you said, as Longarella moves his way into second position, now chasing on the rear wheel of Bertelli. He has a good drive. He'll have a little bit of a slipstream as well in the run to turn 1 as well. Well, Bertelli, as we head towards turn 1, 4, 5 wide, 6 wide between the front runners. Incredible stuff from ETC yet again. Karpushin working his way into the podium places now, as it's Bertelli still at the head of things. Alvaro Lucas now in second.
Alvaro Lucas in second. We've just had confirmation that Barbosa has retired from the race, so no chance of the number 69 rejoining side by side with Cano through turn 3. Can he get the move done into 4? He looks like he's just got ahead, but it's going to be close heading into the braking ahead with Travis Borg.
Looking at the live championship standings, if the checker flag came out now, it would just be 1 point separating Barbosa and Carlos Cano heading into the final round of the season. Things could get spicy over this next 9 laps of action. We'll wait to see what's going to unfold here, because of course Barbosa's teammates still in the run, and still the likes of Ticini for the AC Racing team out in circuit.
Barbosa still has a chance for other riders to limit the damage for him, as we see going right across the green at turn 8 there. I think that was Dak 1, losing out into turn 9. Yeah, Barbosa still has a chance for other riders to limit this damage for him, but it's all on what Cano can do at this point.
And of course, with that fall for Fernando Barbosa, is going to put out a chance of a championship win this weekend. Even for Carlos Cano, he's of course too far back, just 25 points up for grabs here in Barcelona. But nonetheless, we still have an amazing 8 and a bit laps left in this ETC race, and certainly one that's going to shape the championship. This is going to be one of the races, when we come to the end of your awards that we speak about, this is one of the deciding races in the championship.
It absolutely will be spoken about by the riders and everyone in this paddock, given what's happened, the drama from yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening with the penalties, Barrosa's amazing start, the long lap, and then the crash. It will be a defining weekend in this year's title fight.
Well, yeah, exactly. We were just looking back at how Barrosa was able to make up so much moves on the opening lap, and then sadly for him, everything unfolded. Borelli now back up into the podium places. He pushes Carpuchin back to P4, and now moves certainly being made because number 7 in 2 seconds slots in ahead of Alvaro Lucas. Now, another corner yet to come at turn 4. Is it going to be the lead change for Pratelli and Borelli at the front of things? Number 7 looks up the inside, unable to make it work, as Longarella makes a few more moves now up the inside of Carpuchin.
Pratelli defending very strongly on the brakes at pretty much every corner. You would see Pirelli, he is making the move at turn 5, taking the lead. We also see
a few more moves now being made, yeah, and that looked to be Alvaro Lucas getting moves. You see in the background here, just losing the front. He was quite wide on the entry, it looked like there, from the brief shot that we got of him as well. Down in the gravel, luckily up on his feet straight away, but you can see head on hands of the gravel champion, knows how important and how big this moment is. That would have been going through his mind straight away. Obviously, okay, walking away from the crash is the most important thing, but yeah, losing the front a bit wide on entry, and that's the race done for Barrosa. And now it's all on what can the likes of Carlos Cano and Alex Longarella do. Longarella, however, hits the front of things. That's exactly what he needs to be doing. Carlos Cano, if he's seen that move behind, if not, it's going to be on. It would have been on his pit board. You would imagine that Barrosa out of the race. Now he knows to be nice and sensible. However, it looks like Carpuchin launching the move on Travis Borg, as Carlos Cano, he got demoted a few positions, and since then he's not really been able to get himself back into the podium places again. It looked like he had a bit of a moment a couple of corners ago, which is why I sort of jumped up in the commentary box. He is okay, he is on track. He has dropped down the order into P7, however, and there is a bit of a gap to Travis Borg ahead, who was miles out on the green through the final couple of corners as well. Definitely something to keep an eye out through the latter stages of this race. Alvaro Lucas up on the inside, slots back into 3rd place ahead of Longarella now, as 6-7 on Pratelli continues to lead. Tension down there in the 72 Artbox Racing team squad. As, well, final couple of positions actually inside the points. Tamburini and even Sparks taking up them. Finn Krakenville, he was involved in this league fight. Now, though, he has dropped down. However, this league fight, it's massive. This front group, around 14 riders in distance, as well Alvaro Lucas continuing to fight his way. Lucas has been one of these riders that is not afraid to get his elbows out, and yet again over at turn 5 he looks up the inside. It's exactly what you need to do, because if you're not making moves you begin to go backwards, as we're seeing with the likes of Carpuchin. Yeah, if you're not making moves in ETC, you are going backwards. Someone will be looking to make a move on you. Borelli looks like he's trying to put a bit of a gap to Pratelli just behind in 2nd, but it's ETC, the run into turn 10, the slipstream will be crucial. We see double long laps for number 11, that's Cantos, and 94 Osorio. That's for taking shortcuts at turns 1, 2, and 3, and without losing sufficient time. Yeah, of course, you need to lose around the 2nd in that sector, otherwise you will be slapped with a penalty for it, as you see a few more moves being made over at turn 10. Definitely a hot spot in the European Talent Cup class, as it's a good opportunity just to get alongside in the braking zone, and at that point you hold all the cards. You can get up the inside at turn 10, even if you can't, you can take vastly different lines through turns 10 and 11, and they converge into 12, where you can make the move. Pratelli on the inside of the final corner to take the lead briefly, at least on the run into turn 1, with Borelli currently just behind. Now, Pratelli and Borelli, both of them are going to be wanting to take victory here, obviously, but as well they will need to keep in mind they're both from the Pacino Racing squad, and the last thing they're going to want to do is collide or make any sort of contact with each other, but certainly it's been those two in the top 2 for majority of this race in the last couple of laps, as now Carlos Cano puts a stop to that as he enters P2 and now is on the attack. You see now a slightly wider entry to turn 3, trying just to take more sweeping wide and trying just to carry a little bit more corner speed towards turn 4.
Try and take the corner speed through turns 2, 3 and 4. Having to defend from Borelli at turn 4. The number 7 up the inside to Cano into 3rd. But now is the time for Cano to start making the moves. It looked like he actually got the cutback through 4. So can he outbreak the number 7 into turn 5? He can. So he's P2 as it all bunches up right behind the number 1.
Yeah, Alvaro Lucas putting on a pretty aggressive pass there on Car, pushing. It seems to be a turn 5 hotspot for Lucas. He loves to make a move through there as he does look up the inside of Travis Borg as well. Thinks better of it on the M-Lab Racing rider. Carlos Cano, in the meanwhile, looks towards a move at turn 9. Perhaps he'll just sit behind and try to use the slipstream as we head towards turn 10 yet again.
Slipstream into turn 10, the better opportunity, the less risky time to make the move, as it looks like Cano, he doesn't this time. Actually, he's defending from Alvaro Lucas and Travis Borg right behind him, but he does hold on to that provisional podium spot.
We do continue on. 5 and a bit laps to go. We soon enter the last handful of laps. Some great action so far in this race. I think it's fair to say Travis Borg right on the rear tail unit of Carlos Cano as we head towards the final corner now. Moves have been made here today already, and I wouldn't be surprised in the final lap of the European Talent Cup if we see another get made. It
will be the final opportunity for the riders on the final lap to make that move. Of course, you could compromise your exit, which then means you lose it on the run to the line, so it would be interesting to see how these different strategies play out. One thing to note, we are approaching 2/3 race distance, so if a red flag was to come out, results would be called, race would be called, full points awarded. We see Travis Borg going up the inside from P4 across the line into P1.
A great move there from Travis Borg, and actually the likes of Bertelli all the way back down to P7 after turn 1. So Bertelli losing a lot of time there. Meanwhile, the likes of Travis Borg, a real gainer of that. However, Carlos Cano looking up the inside at turn 4. The number 1 hits the front. However, for long, well, Borelli looked for a move to be made, unable to make it work. Cano slightly wider through the mid-corner of turn 4, but he does hold on to things. Will Alvaro Lucas launch another attack at turn 5? Yes, he will. The 46 loves a move here at Barcelona, as Longarella now sitting just outside the top 5. Not too much we've seen from him in the last 2 or 3 laps, but perhaps just biding his time towards this final 3 or so laps.
Not seeing too much, but I say, now is the time to make the moves. We also saw Travis Borg and Carlos Cano fighting through turn 5. Borg made the move initially, but Cano was able to fight back straight away. Now has the advantage on the run into turn 10, but doesn't have the slipstream. In fact, he's creating the slipstream for Alvaro Lucas, Travis Borg, and Borelli. Borelli looking to go up multiple places, but can't quite make the move stick. Cano, oh, we see a crasher. That's
Bertelli. Bertelli's down, and another one of the AC Racing team riders, of course, that looks to be potentially Tassini down on the ground. So a massive shame from both of them. We will continue on to race at the front. Carlos Cano, 2 corners to go before he heads to make it 4 laps remain. Of course, yellow flags out at turn 10 and 11 as Bertelli does begin to drop down the order. There's confirmation of his fall. Definitely not what he'd be hoping for in this one. And actually, Sanchez also dropping down the order too.
Yeah, it looks like it was Mikey Lou Sanchez and Bertelli. Yeah, we had confirmation of the number 55 being involved in that crash at turn 10. A shame for both of them as they were enjoying very strong races. We see Borelli look like he was going to try a move from P1, but decided against it, settles for P2.
You can just see walking away from the gravel trap, it was Bertelli and the other AC Racing team rider that remains in the race. And here's another view of it. So just looking for a move down the inside, you have to say it was Mikey Lewis Sanchez making contact with Bertelli, and then suddenly both riders' races came to an end. So contact and also catching up one of the Australia Lithia riders out there on circuit. So a massive shame for them as well, we continue racing on at the front, but another disappointing end to some riders' races.
Another disappointing, especially for Bertelli, who had been at the front for most of the race so far. Obviously a bit frustrated. Sanchez will also be frustrated. He was obviously part of that lead group, showing very strong pace. We see on our time screens, it's Ramadipa now who leads the field, and Cano has dropped down to P7.
Yeah, Carlos Cano dropping down the order yet again, and Ramadipa, what a year it's been for him, of course. Took his first win over at Magny Cours of the season, and what a victory it was. He's shown that he can be aggressive on this last lap, as has Alvaro Lucas as he goes back up the inside at turn 10. Longarella sitting in the podium position, sitting in third place. And of course, these little incidents, these collisions are putting less and less riders in this group. Therefore, there's less people for you to get mixed up in. But Lucas running wide, and now he drops down to P3, promoting the likes of Ramadiba back into the lead and Longarella back into second.
We spoke about penalties for Bahosa and Longarella, but also Ramadiba was given the back of the grid start. So he's now fought his way perhaps a bit under the radar to take the lead of this race with 4 laps to go. Unlikely he's going to hold that on this long run into turn 1 with the slipstream that his rivals will get, as Carlos Cano once again taking the normal racing line, although we see the number 51 of Daquan also take that line, but it's Borelli who holds P1 on the entry into turn 1.
Yeah, great turn 1 for Borelli. Alvaro Lucas continuing to lose some positions, though he just needs to get himself settled in yet again. Finn Crackerville also entering the top 10 yet again out on circuit. But Carlos Cano doesn't move away at turn 4. We've seen it time and time again from him. Travis Borg wide off the circuit in the background, but he does rejoin, and Longarella moves through briefly before being sat up by the number 1. To turn 5 we go now.
Turn 5, a crucial moment. Are we going to see any moves? It looks like Longarella on the inside of Cano doesn't quite get it done. Borelli still leads, with Cano having to defend from the number 45.
Borelli's looking nice and comfortable at the front of this race. I think it's fair to say. The number 7, he's looking nice and confident, and certainly over the line, just over 1/10 of a second he held. He showed no signs of pressure. However, Tassini still in the running for the AC Racing team. A slight gap forming between himself and Longarella, but as we see time and time again in the European Talent Cup, as we go down the straights, usually those gaps close nicely.
Those gaps will close nicely as we see Longarella. Does he make the move on Borelli? Not this time. Cano right behind in P3, up the inside at turn 11. Had to stand up a little bit, stays on the bike, but loses a couple of bike lengths to the number 45. He'll gain those back through the next couple of corners.
Couple of corners left on this lap before we head to the penultimate circulation around this iconic circuit. It is going to be the dress rehearsal as we have a little replay, a little look back to this moment for Carlos Cano. Briefly lost the rear as he got on the power. Nice and, well, not nice and smooth, but nice and hard, and certainly for him, losing a little bit of ground. What can we do, though, on these final 2 laps? It's certainly building to be a showstopper in the European Talent Cup. Will it be Cano? Will it be Ramadipa? Could it even be Tassini? We're going to have to wait and find out as Ramadipa hits the front.
Ramadipa hitting the front at turn 1. We've seen him be at the front of the field throughout this race, despite that penalty that he was given. It's a remarkable comeback for the number 32. We see the tension in the 72 Motorsport Art box.
Yeah, and certainly Carlos Cano's father watching on with a little bit of tension. I think it's fair to say, watch his son do battle out on circuit. Currently, Cano showing his 4th for the timing screens, but sitting around 6th or 7th position out on circuit. A big moment there for the number 51. Cano's going to take advantage of that as Longarella also looks up the inside at turn 5. It's full-on elbows out action. Nobody taking anyone from prisoners for this one. Karpushin up into second as well. He's gone under the radar after fighting his way from about 5th or 6th position.
He has gone under the radar, but now, as we said before, last couple of laps, this is the time to get in position to make the move on that final lap. We see Lucas having a potential look at turn 9. Doesn't look like he made the move 6. Carlos Cano on the run into turn 10 will probably need to get ahead of Tassini here. He goes up the inside, under braking, sliding his way in, and again, very close to the number 4 there.
Very close at turn 10. Lines merging into one yet again. And Longarella, he does slot back into 3rd. He does wait a little bit longer. This is the dress rehearsal, and it is now over. It's all time. It's time for elbows out action at the front of things for the European Talent Cup. Remember, the sole race of the weekend. 25 points here in Barcelona before 25 points up for grabs in Valencia. The championship looks to be going to the final round. And well, what better way to decide this race than a last lap thriller. Ramadipa leads over the line. They head towards turn 1 yet again. But Carlos Cano, the number 1, is on the attack. Watch for Alvaro Lucas as well on the 46 CF motor machine. Now tipping into turn 1, it is Carlos Cano who leads the way. Leading out of turn 1, he'll be vulnerable down into turn 5. You would think the field will close up on him, and if he remains in P1 into turn 10 especially, but Cano will want to be out in front. He'll look to try and build a gap. Maybe he can work with Ramadipa, who's challenging him at the moment, heading into turn 4. We'll see what happens. Oh, there's a bit of contact between Ramadipa and Borg there. Yeah, Travis Borg there, a little bit of contact between himself and will look to be Alvaro Lucas actually out on circuit. Ramadipa running nice and comfortable at the moment in P2, but Carlos Cano at the front of things. Has he waited for the perfect moment to pull the pin? At the moment, he's looking nice and strong, but it's all going to be on what sort of advantage he has on the run to turn 10.
At the last sector point, he was a 10th and a half clear of Ramadipa. That's going to close out through turns 9 and 10. Potentially not enough to be short of P1 on the exit, but it will be close. Will anyone go on the green on the last? A couple of riders look like they touched the green, so something to keep an eye out for potential penalties.
The inside line Cano has, he launches a move up the attack at turn 10, and he has made it work on Ramadipa. Alvaro Lucas also making some moves, and that looks to be a few mistakes further down the order, so not what he'd be hoping for at all, as we do continue on at the front of things. Borelli now back down to P8, P9 after that error. But Carlos Cano, 2 corners now remain. Will it be himself or Ramadipa? Could it be a last corner move? The 32 looks up the inside, but Cano swoops round, and it is going to be Carlos Cano who takes victory, or will it be? It's a drag race, it's a photo finish at the line, and we await to see on the timing screens who is it going to be. Ramadipa showing 0.007 of a second. Carlos Cano, second place for himself, but a massive day in the championship. Ramadipa, what a final sector. He built that one up, and it was a drag race all the way to the flag. 0.007 of a second between himself and Carlos Cano. Karpushin takes the final spot on the podium. Alvaro Lucas, P4 for himself. Travis Borg taken 6th as Longarella rounds out the top 5. Finn Krakenville, of course, finishing P7. Baltasini, after he ran wide over at turn 10, over in P8. Even Sparks picking up a top 10 finish. So Even Sparks on the 62 machine, your reigning British Talent Cup champion, showing once again that he deserves a place in this championship full-time again next year. Let's hope we see something from him. Of course, promoted to the Red Bull Rookies Cup next year, as well as have a lot of these riders. But what a final corner, what a final run to the line that was for Ramadipa. Celebrations beginning with his teammate, of course, the Honda Asia Dream Racing Junior team. A really, really professional outfit, and I don't think Ramadipa can believe it. But Carlos Cano does stop, and gives high fives, gives handshakes to the marshals, as he will make his way to Parc Ferme. He'll know how important this race is. He'll know that Fernando Bajosa has either scored nothing at all, or he's scored very, very little. Of course, that crash over at turn 7 could be a deciding moment in the championship. Yaroslav Karpushin, though, into Parc Ferme he goes. The number 70 will begin to celebrate. Shaking the fists in the air. Of course, podium finisher so far this season at the likes of Ref and Aragon. And also planning to experience of racing in the likes of the Red Bull Rookies Cup. Just getting told that he needs to go and quickly get weighed, make sure that everything is correct there, and then, of course, the celebrations can well and truly begin. Here's your race winner, though, Ramadipa. What a moment it is. He's in disbelief, I think it's fair to say, emotional, to say the very, very least. The 32 is P1. Goal gets technical checks done. Of course, P4 in the Asia Talent Cup last year, and was the Indonesian rider. As well, judging by the sound of the bike, it is Carlos Cano. You can see how much this means to him, how much it means to the team, and then they can go away for a couple of weeks and regroup in Valencia, where it's going to be an all-out title decider. You can just see there the emotions it means, how much this means in Parc Fermé. The emotions very, very high. And I'm sure there'll be a few tears of joy underneath that helmet. As Dakagan, his teammate, looks to join in the celebrations as Carlos Cano, well, he elevates his place in the championship to P1 as the team shows his appreciation. We've seen it after qualifying as well with the 72 Art Box Racing squad. He said how well they've been working all weekend long, and certainly that continued into the race, certainly the late race pace as well. Car pushing, celebrating with the P3 board as well. Always a special moment to clinch the European Talent Cup podium. It means so much. Ramadipa still enjoying the moment. I think this isn't going to feel real until he's heading back tomorrow, until he goes to sleep tonight. But let's look at the run to the line. It was Cano who led, but Ramadipa, well, fully tucked in underneath the screen, nearly contact between the two of them. And it was a drag race all the way to the flag. And then, as you can see, that's what 7,000ths of a second looks like for victory. That's what you have to do to take P1 in the European Talent Cup. Emotional scenes down in Parc Fermé. Always a delight to see as well. Of course, backing up his win, it was tricky conditions at Magny-Cours, but now completely dry conditions here at the start of November. Ramadipa is in P1. Very soon, we'll be able to hear from him down in Parc Fermé as he gives his reaction to a sensational race win, and he prepares to speak to Jack down in Parc Fermé in just a few moments' time.
Andrew Ramadipa, P24 on the grid, victory on the last lap here. How was that for you?
Yeah, I feel incredible right now. I still cannot believe what I just do in this race, because it's very difficult race, very tough race. First, I want to say Alhamdulillah, thank you to Astra Honda Racing team, my team, Junior Talent team, and also all my sponsor. I just still cannot believe what I just do, but I will keep this momentum and I will keep working hard.
And for your fans back home in Indonesia in your native language?
Ya, Alhamdulillah, ini untuk Indonesia dan juga untuk keluarga saya, ayah. Ini buat ayah dan juga untuk Astra Honda Racing Team dan juga Junior Talent Team. Terima kasih sudah bekerja minggu ini dengan sangat baik. Saya membalas kesalahan saya kemarin di qualifying. Saya harus start dari nomor 24, tapi yang hari ini untuk Indonesia.
Keandra, well done.
Thank you so much.
What a race we had in Barcelona for the European Talent Cup. It was a tense start to action under the sunshine. It was a great start from the 67. Patelli took the lead in the opening laps. He wouldn't make it to the finish line, sadly, for him, as there were moves initially being made. Fernando Barroso, after being served a back of the grid penalty, began to work his way up as Nativi suffered a fall over at turn 5. The battle continued through as Barroso carved his way through the order, launching moves over at turn 5, then over at turn 10. We would see a few more followers as well. Boxberger and Almeida also wouldn't make it to the finish line for them. Their days would come to an end. But Barroso showed his front wheel to Carlos Cano, showing that he is a rider in contention for the win. An incredible force after what was an incredible race. He had the long lap penalty to serve in this one, though. He nearly lost the front through the long lap. Luckily for him, the 69 would stay on, pushing his way through the order. Remy Sanhan would also have a few issues. However, the massive moment, Barroso became a follower. He crashed out of the race over at turn 7, allowing Cano to produce a massive swing in the championship order. Cano knew he had to get to work, pushing hard with Longarella and pushing their way through the field. Bertelli led most of the mid part of the race. Borelli was also there. You see this moment as well. Bertelli coming a follower with Mikey Lou. Sanchez, so 55 and 67, came down at turn 10. Longarella briefly hit the front, looking to keep his championship hopes rolling on to Valencia, as well as Cano began to get his elbows out, being very aggressive over at turn 4 before we built towards a last lap decider. Tension was high in the final lap as Carlos Cano launched the move down the inside. He led in the final sector and he led into the final corner before a photo finish between himself and Ramadipa. The 32 took victory, snatched at the line by 7 thousandths of a second. As now we can enjoy the podium. Ramadipa, it seemed like in part Fermi, he didn't think it was real, but well, this is going to be his moment of realization. First of all, the team representative coming on to the podium. So Karpushin, Jaroslav Karpushin on the podium first, of course, buzzing down in Park Fermi and continuing to be smiling up on the podium. Carlos Cano, he knows this is a huge race in the championship for him. Back in P1 for the number 1. Gandra Ramadipa now up on the podium with the Indonesian flag. Shake of the hands, of course, to his competitors. P1 up in the air too. And thank you yet again to his team for that one. Now the podium celebrations will truly begin with the trophies being handed out. P1 in the Astra Honda Junior Talent Team. Vicepresidente de la FIM Europa entrega el premio al tercero. Karpushin now, trophy up in the air. And he looks exhausted after that one. It was tough out there on circuit, 22 finishers at the end of things. Now Carlos Cano, punch on the air, so delighted with that one. Well, Ramadipa, this is a day he'll never forget as he gets given his trophy. Jacob Rolston, of course, recovering after an injury, but nonetheless, he's been in the paddock throughout the whole weekend. Now he gets handed the trophy to your race winner as we hear the Indonesian national anthem sing out here in Barcelona. So a few tears as the Indonesian national anthem rings out here in Barcelona. Of course, they'll enjoy the celebrations now with the fizzy. Ramadipa initially thought it was photo time, but instead it's celebration time for the free riders up on the rostrum. And with no racing later on this afternoon for them, with it just being one race here in Barcelona, it does mean they can get the levers a little bit soaked and not have to worry too much about it either. Now the photos for social media as we look back at the results of an incredible ride for Ramadipa. Gandra Ramadipa is your winner, 7 thousandths of a second. Another photo finish here in Barcelona. Carlos Cano and Jaroslav Karpushin rounds off the podium. Alvaro Lucas, after an aggressive race, finishes P4 as Alex Longarella rounds out the top 5. Travis Borg, Finn Krakeville and Tassini round out the top 8. Dakigan taking P9. Even Sparks secured the final spot inside the top 10. You'll be happy with that one, as Mario Landa and Borelli round out the top 12. Tamburini, Galan and San Juan round out the top 15. Remy San Juan, of course, a little bit of frustration throughout that race, but nonetheless able to fight into the point scoring positions. Gabarini took up the final finishing spot, as we did lose Lorenzo Pertelli, Mikey Lou Sanchez, Savino from that one. And that's not even our main headline heading into this one. Fernando Bajosa, we lost 10 laps in, and sadly for him, his race came to a halt. No points scored in this one, as well. This is a massive swing in the championship standings. Carlos Cano, a second place in this one, secures him the championship lead. 11 points of an advantage ahead of Valencia. Ramadipa finishes P3, up a few positions in the order with Alcon Garella and Alvaro Lucas rounding out the top 5 in the championship. Carpusha remains P6 after his podium, with Gutierrez and Travis Borg rounding out the top 8 in our standings. Borelli remains P10 in the championship as your NTC champion. Finn Cratheville moves up into P11 in the standings. Nativi as well, P15 currently in the championship for him after a fall, of course, over at turn 5 in this one. Ethan Sparks up a few positions too, following his top 10 finish. What a ride it was for himself for the European Talent Cup field. Had one race on show today, and what a race it was. Already a swing in the championship and a finish that I don't think we'll ever forget. Just one race remaining in 2025. Just 25 championship points up for grabs. Everything in the ETC will be decided in a few weeks' time in Valencia. Will it be Cano? Will it be Fernando Bajosa? For more ETC action, make sure you keep up to date on the social media channels. But here at Barcelona, we still have plenty of action coming your way. The title decider in a couple of weeks' time.